afternoon. Welcome to the final keynote for this conference. I think I should introduce myself. Since I haven't had a chance to do that. I'm Lee from the Department of Comparative Literature at the University of Hong Kong. And it's my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Stephen Chen, Professor of Cultural Studies at LNU University. Well, he is the mentor of my mentor, the late Dr. Chen. He is also the role model, of all of us young scholars, who committed ourselves in the field of cultural studies. I think he's a scholar that is never confined by the Eiffel Tower. And Professor Chen shows us what qualities make an outstanding public intellectual. So he cares about, he reflects upon, he makes changes to the society, which is his researchers must act upon. So I just give you a short version of his very many achievements in the field. Stephen Chen, Professor Stephen Chen, of course, is a chair of the International Association for Cultural Studies. He convened the steering committee for the Inter-Asian Cultural Studies institutions. He's the chair of the board of the House of Hong Kong Literature. He was elected into the Hong Kong Arts Development Council as a member, represents the criticism constituency back in 2008 to 2010. He founded the Scholars Alliance for Academic Freedom in light of the escalating threats to freedom of expression and academic autonomy in Hong Kong. And of course, he published extensively in Hong Kong literature, cinema, culture, education, cultural studies, and also in other fields as well. And of the many works that he authored and also edited and co-authored, I just want to name a few, like Hong Kong Unimagined, History, Culture, and Future, Identity and Public Culture, Critical Essays in Cultural Studies, Cultural Imaginary and Ideology, Critical Essays in Contemporary Hong Kong Cultural Politics. These are textbooks to students who want to be in the history of culture of Hong Kong. And this afternoon, Professor Chen is going to talk about identity in relation to what's happening right now in our society. So please join me to welcome Professor.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, all of you. This is very last talk. It's been a wonderful 3 days, 2.5 days for me. Like Megan, I learned so much from the conference. I thank the organizers of food and other from the Situation Conference, and NTU here. So my talk, the paper which I've been working on during the last few months, and as you may imagine, in Hong Kong, since the summer, none of us can really concentrate on our work too much, because what's important is really out there or in your phone, and or in your phone. To the extent that the latest historic currents of Hong Kong by the people of Hong Kong in their opposition to the amendment of extradition law, officially known as the Fugitive Offenders Ordinance, to the extent that these are rooted in fear, the fear for being included into what remains clearly undesirable and unacceptable, the fear for people's loss of freedom and for the crushing of their will to be excluded from a totalitarian dream of existence, where few would want to see themselves in once the amendment is passed as law. Incidentally, of course, the law was officially removed just a few days ago. To that extent, the overall effect during the last few months of civic uprising against the authoritarian regime, both locally and in Beijing, has been the arousal of critical consciousness and civic subjectivity through people's resistance. One obvious positive outcome of the movement thus far, when we don't know how it would end or when, is the shaping of Hong Kongers as a people. The negative affect of fear, panic, anger, and abhorrence, in the beginning, no extradition to China, has been transformed dialectically into the unprecedented assertion of social presence of those who see themselves prominently as one, the people of Hong Kong,香港人, or Hong Kongers, which has been around the term for some time, but has not been so powerfully and quite systematically asserted during the last few months. This popular call to identity has been the most widely shared voice in slogans and powerful interpolations, such as when people call 香港人, Hong Kongers, the others will respond by saying 加油 and oil. Incidentally, one of the first such public incidents was the pilot of the C-8 plane, when at the end of the announcement that we have arrived in Hong Kong, he said, 香港人加油. And of course, this pilot has subsequently been fired from C-8. After the indiscriminate terrorist attack on protesters and passers-by by men in white tee at the Yuen Long metro station on July 21st, police-triad society collusion has become a real and constant threat to both the security of social life and the integrity of what constitute the core values and prevailing way of life in Hong Kong. It's widely acknowledged among the average residents that life can no longer be the same for the local residents after the Yuen Long terror, where white shirt people, not police, were seen beating people up, and there was, two policemen appeared to walk by, but nothing was done until they all left. And to this day, I think about 4 or 6 of them, of the white shirt people, were arrested, where there were 200 some sort of people beating people up with no face masks. And it was all captured on video, of course. The recognition that such blatant acts of corruption, rather than simply the beating up, have come to intervene in ordinary civic liberties, pose severe danger to what people see as their home, Hong Kong, their place of abode and source of identity. This is a watershed in the history of Hong Kong, with people from all walks of life condemning not only the brutality of the police force, but its collusion with gangsters, the excessive use of violence on protesters and indeed common people, bystanders, before, during, and after an arrest, if there is one. It has marked a significant turning point early in the movement in June, in the massive, which has gone beyond now today, the amendment bill for extradition, to a crisis more fundamental. Media commentator and famous China watcher Kun Xiutong put this acute situation early on in the vivid context of systemic fear. I translate this Chinese blog that we put online into the English here. You read from the middle, it says, when law enforcers became gangsters, there will be no rule of law. The civilized society gradually loses its color and becomes only black. In Chinese and in Cantonese, triad society is black society. And he said at the end of this blog, this is what life in China is like. No doubt, Hong Kong people cannot bear to see their home being destroyed and turned into something they utterly despise, opposed to, and cannot tolerate. And yet, the failure of government has given rise, and governance has given rise to this collusion between police and gangsters, something that has yet to be resolved and addressed by the administration. And this in turn leads people to further consolidate their resistance to state-led brutality in defense of Hong Kong's prevailing cultural formation built around the backbone of a somewhat free, just, and lawful society. Now, the resistance to becoming Chinese, in light of what Kuhn has said here, is for what is fundamental to the core values. It's strongly aligned to the dialectic of identity that commits the individual citizen to defending her allegiance or to the livable community, and by implication, to sacrificing what life is for what is fundamental in the core values. Megan was talking about her relationship with the policeman just a few years ago. Everybody has that same feeling. Belonging to Wuntou in Cantonese means the local. Predating the first massive demonstration of over 1 million people's peaceful march on June 9, overseas college student from Hong Kong, Frances Hui, this is just one incident that I want to use to put forth my point. Her loud cry that I'm from Hong Kong sent a firm call for personal and collective identification through the international media. The incident, the snowball with Hui's being challenged about her identity, was reported in high profile by the Washington Post. According to that report, the incident was triggered by the casual question, "Where are you from?" posed to Hui by an inquisitive fellow passenger on a bus in Boston, where she was studying. And this is from the report. When she eventually replied Hong Kong, the man felt to get aggressive. He insisted that she should define herself as from China, which was handed control of the former British colony, of course, in 1997. So he kept telling me, "You are Chinese, you need to fix your identity." Hui, a junior at Emerson College, said, "I felt really insulted. Identity is really personal, it's my thing." Subsequently, she penned a column in the college student paper, Emerson, titled, "I'm from Hong Kong, not China." And she opened it with the line, "I'm from a city owned by a country I don't belong to." This is in English because she's doing this in the US. It was soon followed by intense and at times threatening backlash from Indian Chinese students at her college. Threats to, this is, as I said, just one incident among many. Threats to individuals insisting to hold on to a Hong Kong identity are by now familiar in many different cities across countries where people associated with Hong Kong have come out to support their fellow citizens back home. In contrast, Chinese protesters against the Hong Kong cause would shout, this is one of the Chinese, in English translation it means something like, "Those who infringe us on our Chineseness or nationality, wherever you are, you must be gotten rid of." And of course this applied to Frances Hui. The drift between the opposing people has grown wider than ever. The division is dynamic, not least in the sense that it drives the weak or the marginal side, the Hong Kongers, to stand firmer together, and often with active identification by many at overseas location. So she went, Frances, she went to New York for a rally afterwards, dressed in an iconic black tee that says, "I'm a Hong Konger." She turned out and speak and call on the fellow Protestants and supporters to defend Hong Kong, or stand with Hong Kong, which is another version. This latest wave of Hong Kong identity cause is obviously taking on huge momentum amid attempts by Beijing to control the territory tighter than ever for their own political motives, especially after the end of the 2014 umbrella movement. Among other things, the result is the consolidation among people of a strong sense of identifying with Hong Kongers since the beginning of this movement, upholding local interests, concerns, and values instead of Chinese. The use of the term local, 本土, actually can be traced back to the early 2000s when a group called Local Action led a powerful resistance movement to fight against the demolition of Star Ferry Pier and Queen's Pier at the time. Since then, localist campaigns have had currents of activism, though morale dropped since the imprisonment of the charismatic student leader Edward Leung after the Mongkok fishball revolution in 2016. Notably, the former legislature, one who come up from this so-called localist group that is associated loosely with what Megan Morris has described as the anti-localist, after the anti-localist campaign. She was elected as a legislative councillor after the umbrella movement. In the sworn-in session at the Let's Hall, she bring out this banner that says in English, Hong Kong is not China. And of course, she was DQ'd, our shorthand for disqualified subsequently. Anti-China sentiment was strong among the young people since then, sometimes with a tint of righteous populism, as we mentioned and discussed. In 2014, those calling themselves localists, so this is something new coming out from the umbrella movement in relation to the earlier protest against the Star Ferry Pier that I mentioned a while ago. They initiated a series of anti-localist street actions to the community campaign to urge basically, mainland tourists to go back to China. Note that the slogan, does not so much say that Hong Kong is not a part of China as to stress, I think, the difference between Hong Kong and China. The underlying tenet that Hong Kongers are categorically different from the mainlanders. Strongly suggestive of autonomy, which is stated in the Basic Law, high degree of autonomy. The slogan is distinctive of contemporary localism with its aggressive resistance tactics and strategies. Henceforth, localism in Hong Kong stands for a group with a high sense of anti-China sentiment and calling for either curbs on Beijing's intervention or independence for China. But I need to add that in this particular moment, in this particular movement, either the localist terminology or to a lesser extent this slogan was not featured prominently in the movement. I'll explain later on. It still appears, as I said, during the last few months. This is Hong Kong, not China, not yet. Right? Here is Hong Kong, not China. So this picked up on Kun Siu To's blog message that I brought to your attention. Some in opposition, even in Hong Kong, but also overseas, and I'm quite sure in the mainland China as well. In opposition, some angry mainlanders urged the Chinese leadership, Chinese Communist Party, to keep the island of Hong Kong, the territory, but not its inhabitants. In Chinese, it's 老头, 留岛不留人, which was the first strategy aimed and targeted at Taiwan. But they don't use that anymore for Taiwan, and they thought this should be used for Hong Kong. Instead, indeed, the CCP scheme to dilute Hong Kongness is not a new strategy, according to commentator Joseph Deng. Since at least 1997, the larger Chinese move has been to keep the place of Hong Kong, especially its status as an international financial center, but not necessarily its people who self-identify, as I pointed out during these last few months, very strongly and in solidarity as Hong Kongers, including ethnic minorities who were born in Hong Kong, speak Cantonese, but normally are not very active participation in these political events in Hong Kong. But this time, they were all gradually coming out to identify themselves, and in a sad way, the pepper spray and the water cannon helped to connect us together. What scholar Lo Wing-Sung calls the third wave of local consciousness, grounded in the cultural uprising of the 2000s, led by the so-called post-80s generation from the Queen's Pier struggle, has pioneered a path-breaking form of critical local activism, advocating, and I quote, a new post-materialist value system. In early years, people thought this was too abstract and too, scholarly concept, but somehow it has become real, and more people begin to be appreciating the meaning of that as we moved through the term. This articulation of local identity has shaped a contemporary version of localness, better appreciated against a broad range of critical tactics of othering, according to Wing-Sung. Across generation, post-colonial subjects today strive to handle the dire situation they now live in through the life-shaping mediation of critical affective states, including deep personal engagement with fear, anxiety, anger, love, despair, frustration, dedication, solidarity, and hope. The social movement emerging from the fight to preserve the earlier Star European Queen's Pier in 2006 and 2007 has led to anti-urban renewal activism, subsequently at urban neighborhoods such as Wan Chai, Lee Tong Street, as well as the anti-express rail link linking Hong Kong to China. In both cases, the resistance themselves had failed, in the sense that the express lane is built and the neighborhood is now totally transformed. The street is still there, but it's totally gentrified to something that's completely different. As the world came to sympathize with the Hong Kong cause from the beginning of the movement in June, Albert Chen, who is a conservative law professor and a local member of the Basic Law, Hong Kong Basic Law Consultative Committee, described the movement as a perfect storm generated by the inevitable invocation of wayward forces in the system. It's significant that this is the view of a pro-Beijing conservative and highly respected man among the pro-establishment camp. It's a long quotation, but I read from here. However, the fourth line, given that the Hong Kong government today is appointed and constitutionally subordinate to the central government in Beijing, it is difficult to see how the government can reject any rendition request from Beijing in the first place that complies with the requirement of the ordinance. Right? For the pro-Beijing law professor at HKU, the movement to oppose the anti-extradition law illustrate, quote, the peculiar and possibly unique feature of Hong Kong's semi-democratic political system, in which civil liberties and civil society flourish, and yet the government is not democratically elected and accountable to the people, end quote. Worldwide, the inadequacy of the mainland Chinese legal systems are rarely disputed. Their concerns of the bill in the beginning are fully understood, not only among the Hong Kong residents, but anyone who may have passed by the city or anyone who has been working, studying in the city, or passing by in transit. This means that the idea of Hong Kong becoming a part of China, that inhabitants and visitors in Hong Kong will have to subject to the legal system and political practice of the mainland regime, generates natural fear and real panic, especially also among the business sector, who did not come out to publicly oppose the bill, but the removal of the bill actually benefited a lot of locals in international business. With post-coloniality, we articulate to history of identity politics and civil liberties in a contemporary political condition, binding the city to the mainland. Hong Kong's transformation from a colony to a post-colony, or nowadays special administrative region, or SAR, under China, under PRC, is now turned into a subject of terror in the name of law. The post-colonial gap has closed in for a systemic articulation of two distinct jurisdictions and social habitat. The subject of terror invokes inevitably a crisis of subjectivity. Skip to the next section. In this context, it is not surprising that growing up in Hong Kong post-war or Second World War, generations has little experience or understanding of the Chinese nation and the Chinese nation state. Rather, the desire for autonomy gave rise to a growing sense that they belonged and had an obligation to the place they lived in. Struggling to belong to a desirable community as the city grew during the post-war decades, the people stood by their lived imagination for the collective, shaken, however, by disjointed modes of subject formation. The challenge of local formation was, and I quote Lawrence, to maintain the self-image of Hong Kongers as an economically successful yet politically pathetic animal. In retrospect, the success of this apolitical Hong Kong identity was that it stripped Hong Kong people of their agency to seek participation in the Sino-British negotiations, leaving them powerless in the hands of the true power, negotiations relating to, of course, the situation in the future of Hong Kong before and in 1997. This is the quote, which I won't go into, but he talked about the othering, and he said the local consciousness during the past few decades takes the following as the other: global capitalism, business government collusion, developer hegemony, which has monopolized Hong Kong's political lifeblood, and the state machine and establishment with vested interest to control Hong Kong from miles away. The change in 1997 handover has not changed this configuration. During the 1960s and 70s, though it was believed that Hong Kong identity has had a nationalistic nature, some young scholars today, Sokman is one of them, who would argue that alternatively, that we have largely overlooked cultural revolution, the Chinese cultural revolution, the role it played in fostering youthful identification of Chinese nation in the course of Hong Kong's identity formation. Investigate in an upcoming article the emergence of political consciousness against the ruling colonial regime during the 1960s, in which young people had to face frustration, confusion over the disappearance of a shared idea of a Chinese nation that perhaps had never existed among them. I'm teaching a course on Hong Kong this semester and was introducing to students the perspective during the 60s of looking at Hong Kong's identity in relation to China as a nation then and now. That generated quite some interest among kids today are coming to class wearing black masks, especially after the anti-face mask bill has been passed. And she also argued that 1967 riots had enhanced that nationalistic consciousness that sprouted among educated youth and students. It's ironic resonance and contrast between two moments. And also the gap between where they lived, Hong Kong, and what they perceived to be their motherland. That open and inner struggle that had exacerbated their discontent then with colonial government, now with the present administration, the SAR. I'll move to the young people. So understandably, in the words of another famous cultural critic, Mr. Chen Bunzhong, the word local did not have a coherent meaning until the post-war locally born baby boomers came of age in the 1970s, when the identity of Hong Kongers, in contrast to mainlanders, was minted. Culturally, it makes no sense to say that at the end of colonial rule will facilitate the emergence of local culture. Such a proposition could not possibly be referring to a pristine pre-colonial culture. It is also senseless to presume an essentialist Chinese culture, traditional or contemporary. In the words of thus, ironically, Chen argues that Hong Kong, in the last 2 decades, is benefiting from its being out-Chinese contemporary mainland, more Chinese than China, out-Chinese contemporary Chinese mainland. And there are many examples we give that I won't have time to go into. But it's this point that I'm interested in sharing with you. He writes that in the post-totalitarian stage, with CCP-led state apparatus largely intact, the state culture of China had shown tenacity while undergoing incremental changes. Sometimes mainlanders, because Chen has been living in Beijing for a long time, working and coming back and forth between Beijing and Hong Kong. Mainlanders refer to the embodiment as the system, 体制, its ramification as the national condition, 国情, comprising a huge repository of unspoken hidden rules, tactic rules of the game for insiders and initiated, in contrast to written rules for the consumption of outsiders. And this is the line I want to stress. This state culture was not familiar to most Hong Kong residents before 1997, but had become more discernible and even ubiquitous in certain circles, especially, for example, the business circles, after that. So surely, Hong Kong is not, that Hong Kong is more Chinese than China is no longer valid, even in the mildest set of belief held, even according to the mildest set of belief held by people in Hong Kong. As the current chief executive, Carrie Lam, her underlying intention in pushing for the extradition law was to appease Beijing, she has negated the core values cherished by Hong Kong society for decades, set in place at least since the 60s. Indeed, she has destroyed Hong Kong, and she has betrayed Hong Kong and its people, especially the youth. So I quote again a message from the internet by the respected Reverend Tin Yao, who in a short piece entitled "Why Are Our Young People Antagonistic Towards the Country?" I think this sums it up very, very well, very succinctly. First point is not that Hong Kong youth are antagonistic against the country, it's only because the country is not loved the people. Second, they love Hong Kong, they only detest those in power who have betrayed Hong Kong. They advocate localism because they see such darkness in China, but they love this place that they live in. They want to be able to live under one country system, the social values, freedom, and so on. They were skeptical towards the Belt Road and the Land Out Tomorrow project, which is, the latter is something proposed by Carrie Lam to her administration. Number three, their hatred of the police is a transfer of their political antagonism against the government. And number four, it is important for us, but also I think for the society as a whole, that Hong Kong education has this problem, but its problem is not in some curriculum, right? Generative civic education. They're not going to change all the curriculum because they thought that with the youngest people nowadays being arrested, at age 11 or 12. So I think they want to institute a totally new curriculum, probably starting from the kindergarten, you know, in order to be safe and also fit into the strategy about changing the people, keeping the place, but changing the people slowly and completely. Some pictures about the kids. By kids here we mean under the age of 16. Picture above, these police, before they spray their pepper spray or shoot their guns, they will open, red flag or yellow flag or black flag. So if you have these kids holding a red flag saying, "Stop violence, we are not rioters, we are not rioters." And that's a picture of a real scene on the street. Right, 3 armed police questioning a potential rioter. Dressed in black. So I dare not dress in full black today. This is a rally with mothers. As the eclectic politics of affect permeates ethnicity amid deep-rooted contradictions and ambiguities, the contemporary local sensibility takes shape on the fractured landscape of post-colonial nationhood, with Hong Kong becoming Chinese. This aberrant formation displaces the trajectory of the Hong Kong local, with identity traces ostensibly mapped vis-a-vis the nation global regime under the old partnership between global capitalism and Chinese totalitarianism. With this critique, I suggest that when the political status quo and legitimacy are at stake for the rule of Hong Kong, forms of violence and experience of violence somehow must be remembered as much to resist amnesia in the social body as to fight inertia for a future imaginary about who you would become. Ever since she took office, Carrie Lam has fully neutralized the legal parameters against violence to accomplish various tasks in the service of social order, quote unquote, a proxy for patriotism, which really means the love of the party. These violent acts have included, other than those on the streets, included disqualifying duly elected legislator in the name of law, as well as numerous unthinkable moves within the set framework of the current legislation. Of course, these things did not happen just within the last 4 years, but probably more than 4 years, not the last 4 months. the extradition law would have submitted all inhabitants in Hong Kong to the practice of Chinese law and trials, the non-violence and the international community. In pushing forth the amendment bill, Lam collectively allowed the police to conspire with the gangsters in the beating up of Protestants and civilians by terrorists in Yunnan, as I mentioned, on July 21st, by hostile and full-gear police force in the Prince Edward Metro Station on August 31st, and the police craze against indiscriminate arrest of protesters in the anti-terrorism rally on September 29 and more. This is a picture of the neighborhood. It's found in many neighborhoods in which police was strategizing this move, as you can see, in front of dozens of reporters. And, in my class, I have a caption that says, "They can't see me, they won't see me." The other one is when the first time the police, in full gears, ran into the Sha Tin shopping plaza from the subway and from outside, in order, as according to them, in order to arrest black shirt young people. So this poor lady over there, she's come out from shopping, and her picture was all over, all over the place instantaneously. When such terror has been inscribed in living social memory, we also know that as one of the most, that the regime, the CCP-controlled Chinese military, can be deployed at any time, according to law, at Hong Kong's request to contain protests. That has actually been raised many, many times as a potential possibility and a threat. So Beijing officially has also on many occasions made this very clear. In the months since the movement exploded in June, all the arrest protesters, over around 2,500 at the moment, I think, are those who have stood up to oppose the systemic violence to everyone and anyone in Hong Kong. Under the emergency regime of terror, they are accused of being rioters, but are in fact fighters resisting unjust law, defending the rule of law, and demanding freedom. This is the same day after the Sha Tin law. This is the response of the protesters. Of course, umbrella has been both a symbol and an actual tool in their way to fend off the threat from the police. So this is their response on July 14, the Sha Tin plaza. Hong Kong faces the entry to an era of totalitarianism with horror, with violence and terror firmly inscribed as due motors of its contemporary history. So this is the reason why it is now beyond the extradition law, which is moved. But the police force is now driven and controlled, probably from outside of Hong Kong, and it works with an unknown political power at stake, which will no doubt continue to penetrate into and control over all the domains of society. This is the lessons that we learned in Hong Kong, not only after the 2014 umbrella movement, but also we learned after 1989 Tiananmen, that after the end of total suppression. The regime will have the people accept that all the requests will not be realized, that they must accept to live in the pseudo-social order imposed, with reliance on layers and layers, system after system of lies, masked as the dominant discourse of the time, controlled and managed by the party-state machinery and its massive system of maintaining social order. With threats coming from none other than the police, everything has changed under the debunked myth of one country, two system. All constraints and tacit rules are broken. Those deployed by the local mafia and mainland forces came also to act as either gangsters or law enforcement agents. There are many examples that I cannot show due to time. Power lies not with the chief executive or government, but with the police gangster collusion, incredible as it sounds. This is a picture that I like. This is the early days, when they are beating up people in NPR and shopping malls. So this man says, wearing the yellow helmet, that I am politically apathetic, I obey the law and subscribe to order. I am on my way home, don't beat me. And he's posted. They actually do that, and he was wearing a mask, and they posted on the, just one among many creative. And I think last night I saw a newly designed online game created out of the movement. So you can, depending on how many sprays you got, and all that, right? Okay, it's very creative. But this is reality. This is reality. Will there actually be an opportunity where we see challenges, danger, and risk removed? It has never, the reality has never been so real since one country system issue arose during from the days of the Sino-British negotiations. Never have Hong Kong people been living in so real a situation. People's experience of identity articulates cognition to affect, their sense of being to their common experience, to belonging to a community where critical affective flows are absorbed into the eclectic politics entail and live. On August 30th, another report in the Washington Post says that there is something happening in Toronto. What is most shocking is the unprecedented way in which ordinary mainland Chinese people and the world have organized themselves, or some sectors of the world, in defense of Beijing's rhetoric. A patriotic gesture made, in this case, by pro-Beijing protesters in Toronto, by people who drove their luxury cars, Porsches and Ferraris, to the site of the local rally where Hong Kongers are protesting. So this time it became a little bit more violent than the example of Francis Hui. They shouted, "Poor losers, Chongqi." These students exalted the arrogance of China's new liberation. And their insult coincides with one of China's narratives claiming that a lot of the grievances by Hong Kong's young protesters, stuff in Hong Kong by China, wasted youth, are economic rather than political. Right? So instead of responding to the protesters' 5 demands, the Carolina government is saying that they will provide more, they will borrow more money to people who want to buy their first home. Right? So this is, of course, not addressing the issue completely. Not surprisingly, again in the words of Law Wing Sun, Hong Kong's ethnic identity is a complex formation, as is Hong Kong's local consciousness and the embedded ethnic politics as it has manifested today. The sense and experience, this is a picture of the recent picture drawn by Marcus about the protesters cleaning up the Kowloon Mosque, which has been sprayed blue by a water cannon driven by the police. Right? So after they spray this, generated by a cloud in the community, and like 2 hours, almost two hours later, you find the young people gathering there to clean up what the police has done to the mosque. In the context of unfinished decolonization, these collective memories from today as well as from the past are intertwined with the colonial experience of Hong Kong. On the left, the quote from Wing Sung last year. The collective memory exists in our memories, experiences, and imaginations, waiting to be called and mobilized. Hong Kong is now in the process of developing a strong sense of a united civic political community to safeguard itself from being recolonized again. Corresponds to something written almost 20 years ago by Chen Buzhong. The relocalization of Hong Kong culture, starting in the 1960s, but not achieving full speed until the late 70s. This is well before the 97 handover, when, incidentally, a kind of Hong Kong chauvinism did grow and develop to some extent back in those days. That had been the relocalization, he said, he argued, had been a process of incessant hybridization. Ironically, it was in the labyrinth of such hybrid cultural localization that the distinct identity of the locals had emerged. Back to today, this is 1st of July, which is the day when the Hong Kong SSR was established. So it was commemorating that day. But since 2003, there has been massive rally and march on the day to protest against political reform and civic rights from Hong Kong. So on this day, protesters stroked into the inside of the legislative council, right? And so you've seen that is the Hong Kong sign, and they painted that particular 5 English words on the wall. By the way, the Legco reopened again after a few months, I think 2 days ago. So everything goes back to normal. But what I want to say is that Albert Chan, that conservative law professor, has this to say, and I think this is shortly after what happened during the early period of the protest. And I think it's illuminating. And I quote, "In authoritarian states, no demonstration of any considerable size would be allowed, and the kind of protest that had taken place in Hong Kong would have been inconceivable in authoritarian states. On the other hand, in liberal democracies, protests of the scale that took place in Hong Kong against the bill on 6th of June, over 1 million, was not able to move the government. And it was only when an estimated 40,000 people, outnumbering the total size of Hong Kong police, that the government gave in. The soft authoritarian nature of the government is such that it would restrain itself from resorting to massive physical force against the protest of civil society. So that kind of paradox and contradiction is, I think, a good indicator of the complex situation that we have. To wrap up, Hong Kong Kongers subjectively consider themselves different from mainlanders. It is first and foremost through this distinction from the mainland that the Hong Kong people construct their strong ideas. This has been said for decades, but it has not been creating a lot of social unrest and problems until the last few years, and become more so as I trust today, and it contributes to the shaping of the community. It has been partially a result of British colonialism's policy, positive non-intervention, and so forth. The so-called cosmopolitan outlook that the local elites once upheld was very much a product of British colonialism. A decolonized mind doomed large for constructing its own programmatics and language of alterity. Today, 50 years after the 1967 riots, activism of our time has allowed Hong Kong people to become the real subject of identity and history. I will end with this quote from the activist Brian Lau, who broke into the Legislative Council, the picture of which I show, and he took off his mask. Everybody was masked. He took off his mask. This is not something he said then. He had made a speech on the spot, but he was reflecting on that particular incident. So he was now studying in the US, I think, but so he came back to Hong Kong in mid-June. I felt on the one hand excited, on the other hand a deep sense of grief. For the loss of several activists sacrificing their lives because of suicide to protest against the government, this grief burst in the most dramatic and unprecedented manner on July the 1st. On that day, outside the Lecture, I witnessed the protesters trying to break the glass door relentlessly, having gone through the division in social society, civil society in the umbrella movement. I was surprised by how united everyone was on side. Although other protesters did look worried, they continued to show their support for those at the front line. I think the main reason for such unity is how other protesters can stand in the shoes of those who choose to escalate their action, even if it is not totally agreed. How other protesters can share the pain and desperation as a result of the common experience. It occurs when you can imagine how others, this is him, are willing to share the pain incurred, and insofar as we can stand together to share and imagine others' suffering, the community of Hong Kongers will not be constrained by time or space. With this, I thank you for your attention.
I want to ask, I remember like maybe 10 years ago reading a series of articles by Liang Wendao, the public intellectual from Hong Kong, on how Hong Kong was the only place that you can say, I don't love anything. I don't love China, I don't love the AMP in Taiwan, I don't love Hong Kong, I don't love the colonial government, I don't love the SAR. So, and he was saying, you know, Hong Kong is not tied down by this sense of patriotism or any obligation that I have to love any territory, any identity formation or whatever. And so what we have been witnessing now is really a drastic change on how people feel about the place. And so in one of your slides, you talk about post-colonial distance, and that distance, I think, is both distance to China, but what I've been seeing is that distance to this local community. You know, not saying that I love Hong Kong is also,
we don't
it's cool.
Say that. We didn't say that. We didn't say that until more recently.
Yeah.
There was a few moments in the mid-1990s when people were facing uncertainty with the handover. That there are some rather temporary, I would say, looking back, because it actually didn't result in anything too significant, I would say, especially on the political level. And that was, of course, the result of the kind of colonial situation and the ending of the colonial situation that I talk about. Sorry.
So what I've been feeling is now the young people that I heard on the streets, they would really say, I really, really, really love Hong Kong. And that was not something my generation experienced.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of in awe, where does this come from, you know? So like from what you were saying, identity comes from this common experience. And often when we look at social movements in Hong Kong, what, you know, that sense of identity actually only emerges, whether it's in the neighborhoods that are resisting demolition or in the protection of the peers. That feeling only comes out during the movement. Those Westerns don't identify themselves as one until their neighborhood is threatened.
Very much so. My quick answer would be, that's why I quote this long quotation. I mean, Brian Leung, I think is past mid-20s, so it's not the youngest. You know, we're talking about high school children. I mean, this is to everybody's total surprise. But I think it means, and so it was not surprising that the government are thinking of what went wrong in the schools, right? From their point of view, something was went wrong in the school. But from the other point of view, we would be thinking and asking, although nothing seems to have happened, the environment and the schools and the kind of non-intervention strategy that is going, except for the business collusion and the high real estate price, everything else seems to be ongoing, so that people actually are living kind of in the community and neighborhood level, quite a good life with policemen. And one of the advantages for drivers like myself is that there was no tickets given in the last 4 months. Because police are preoccupied with other stuff, right? It's true. I mean, and everybody who drives says that. You know, you can do. And so, but this police thing is completely new, and it actually had an impact on the people, including the young people. And the young people, what differentiates young people from adults is that when they get their acts together, their creativity and their collective action is such that we can never, couldn't have imagined before this. And I think there's something to cherish about. But the systemic meaning levels, they wouldn't know in the beginning, and there's the smart ones like Brian, who of course begins to pick up the connections, and I think the other thing is partially, of course, in the 2012, remember the anti-nationalist education campaign led by then 14-year-old Joshua Wong, right? So there were a small section in the high school community that are doing things, what happened now showed that they have their impact one way or the other, right? And that I think is really the reason why the movement can last is that they have tried to arrest Joshua, but it didn't help, because in this movement, he isn't the leader. So even if he is arrested, the things will still go on because they're not listening to him to come out, right? So I think that is on the one hand the technical and the medium of communication that pushes the action. On the other hand, it is the social and cultural environment, as well as the degree to which law and order has been enforced so far. That whole thing seems to be completely uprooted. So you see the people, peaceful people, housewives, white collars with their head in the metro, they're all making a statement.
Yeah, what I find interesting, I mean, and this is, that piece that says Hong Kong is not China, not now, not yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the not yet that is the troublesome. I mean, because it's the not yet that actually still recognizes that it will be China. And the now can be stretched, I mean, in kind of a receding horizon.
Exactly.
When is the now going to meet the yet? And when that happens, there's no telling.
You have it point on. And again, what differentiates the current generation of young people with our earlier generation is that, including, one of the most powerful things that Ryan said in the lecture hall, which is not in this book, is that if we lose this time, we will lose the next decade. Right? And they are the generation who is thinking, what am I going to be like in closer to 2047? And so, and because of umbrella movement and all the other lessons that they have learned, they knew that the failure of the movement is not going to be taken, it is going to be taken very seriously, not by Carrie Lam, but by whoever is holding her hands to do things. And so that is that strong sense and the influence among the people that, and we talk about that in our afternoon roundtable, that people are ready to quote unquote sacrifice. And those people who are doing that are people in their 20s, that generation. So you wonder, well, there was no sign of that. Yes, you were right. There was no sign of that kind of strong affect. But when it comes together, it is so quick, and so I don't know whether it can stay, but the momentum right now is still very strong, and the support, therefore, from the larger community has not died down, despite a lot of reaction from
The last question.
Thanks. Actually, just bringing on from a reminder of the not yet session. I guess I'm particularly interested in sort of if you were comparing during colonial times when the democratic movement was, there was this big connection to June 4th, right, 1989, and there was some sense that there were forms of solidarity possible with China moving on China, and I guess looking at it from the outside now, it seems like that is very much lost. And so this is also what you lose with this kind of globalist discourse, right? Is that, and I guess it is more of a question than a comment, are there forms of solidarity that can we envision preparing the next 20 years until we get to 1947 when this may actually become even more important?
Yeah. So I think it is the latter that it seems that the people, relatively older people like them, have taken part in the umbrella movement, as you can see from this talk. But if you have kids in the 12-year-old, 13-year-old kids, they're just a kid. They may have gone to they may have brought by their parents to the June 4th Kendall region. Now that is possible. And all of a sudden you think that, okay, something happening there kind of stay on. Because I can assure you that it is not the schools themselves that are educated. They're now trying to revamp the civic education. Of course, it provides some forum for discussion of like racial issues that we've been discussing here. But of course, from the authoritarian rules point of view, even this kind of thing is dangerous. So that is how Hong Kong is becoming China, is something to be terrified.
So I think we have to thank you so much.
The roundtable will be at HSS before starting at 2:30, but I will. So here we have two students who will take you guys over. So the two of them will take. So take your time saying you need to say goodbye or you need
the organizing committee members from Nanyang Technological University, the Associate Chair, Professor Daniel Jernigan, Dr. Hejong Han, and also Professor KK Luke, as well as Aaron Lee. And then, of course, I'd also like to thank those who made up the administrative support, Dr.